Hillary, Laura Collins, Daily Mail. Did you pay to spy on the Trump campaign? When are you going to comment on the spying allegations, Hillary? Did you pay for having spied on?
All right, guys, so that is Hillary Rodham Clinton avoiding the question of whether or not she ordered the spying of Donald Trump during his campaign and while he was in the White House to try to dig up information on him and Russia. Now, this comes after the alleged bombshell revelations from the Durham report. You know, the investigation being done by John Durham, ordered by President Trump to investigate the investigation into the connection between Trump and Russia. Okay. And allegedly, the story goes like this, that the Clinton campaign paid some tech guys, a tech firm, to do some data mining on President Trump while he was on the campaign trail and while he was in the White House. Okay. And allegedly, some of this stuff may have been done illegally. Okay. Allegedly. And this was all done so that Hillary Clinton and the Democrats could come up with this narrative that Trump was some type of Manchurian candidate working on behalf of Vladimir Putin and Russia to, I don't know, take over America or something like that. Who knows, right? That is what the narrative was. And obviously the mainstream liberal media ran with this narrative for the last 4 years, falsely telling us that Trump was an illegitimate president, okay? So, of course, you know, again, this is a bombshell story, and the Democrats and the mainstream liberal media are once again ignoring it, as the White House was asked about it, and this is what their answer was.
And then on the second topic, this news about the Durham investigation. Does the president have any concerns about a candidate for president using computer experts to infiltrate computer systems of competing candidates, or even the president-elect to use for the goal of creating a narrative? Is that something that...
That's something I can't speak to from this podium, so I refer you to the Department of Justice.
Is what was described in that report, monitoring internet traffic, is that spying?
Again, I can't speak to that report. I refer you to the Department of Justice.
Generally speaking, that with monitoring internet traffic...
Jackie, my answer is not going to change. I refer you to the Department of Justice.
Yeah, so of course the White House is mum, right? And the mainstream liberal media is also silent. So silent that even Fox News took notice of how silent the mainstream liberal media was on this subject. Take a look.
After all this, that bombshell court filing from late on Friday alleging the Clinton campaign paid a tech company to infiltrate servers at both Trump Tower and the White House. You would not know it from watching the news, though. Just about all the other mainstream networks turning a blind eye thus far to this story.
All right, so as you can see there, mainstream liberal media choosing not to cover this story. They're choosing to ignore it. The same way they ignored the Hunter Biden story because it doesn't fit the narrative, right? It doesn't fit the narrative, okay? But when they actually did decide to talk about the story, like Joe Scarborough did on MSNBC, they went with the same old Democrat slash liberal media playbook of accusing the right of being conspiracy theorists, flat out ignoring it, saying it's made up, it's being misinterpreted, it's being overblown. Trump still is a puppet of Russia, etc., etc.
And the investigation into the investigators is taking long than the investigation. And if they were moving at a rapid clip, that would be one thing. But we're going months without really hearing much of anything. And when we get something, it's this jumbled pleading from Durham. So the question is, how much longer does Merrick Garland allow this to go on without demanding some sort of transparency to let us know what's going on? Like, again, even this pleading, you know, they should come out and explain the pleading, because you've got people saying, well, wait a second, did this happen during the Obama administration? Did this happen during the Trump administration? It's like he actually just threw words out there to allow people to draw the worst conclusions from them, when he could very easily clarify this afternoon. Yeah, I'm with you, Joe. On the face of the pleading, I read it too. It makes no sense. Hillary Clinton's campaign was over when Donald Trump was inaugurated president. So how could she have had her campaign spying on him while he's president? It makes no sense. Not to mention the fact that DNS data is public, that looking into that, doing opposition research by doing public data mining is not in any way anything other than opposition research. And by the way, what was the predicate for the investigations of Donald Trump? Maybe it had to do with the fact that Trump while he was a presidential candidate, had his people in Moscow begging Putin to build Trump Tower Moscow. Maybe it had to do with the fact that a Trump Tower meeting occurred with a Russian delegation asking for dirt on Hillary Clinton. Maybe it had to do with the fact that Oleg Deripaska, a Russian oligarch, had employed Paul Manafort and engaged him to do illegal lobbying. There were so many predicates for an investigation. And of course, what did Trump do? He not only benefited from Russian interference in the election, he actually rewarded it.
Guys, I want you to understand just the mind F in that clip from MSNBC. First, John Scarborough essentially says that, well, nobody really knows what the Durham filings say, right? When the Durham filings clearly say that an executive from the tech company, Robert Joff, and his associates exploited this arrangement in which they had access to some data at the White House for the purposes of gathering derogatory information about Trump, right? Durham's prosecutors wrote that, okay? Now, that firm was working with Hillary Clinton campaign lawyer Michael Sussman, right? And they basically gave him that information. He used that information as proof in his attempt to build up a case against Trump to try to say, hey, Trump's working with the Russians to the CIA. But Joe Scarborough is on MSNBC telling his audience that it is confusing, right? We don't really know what he's saying. So then they bring on a guy to basically come on and say, well, we don't know what it says, but if it's true, if it says what the right-wing media says it says, then it was legal. It was 100% legal. And by the way, Trump and Russia working together, colluding together is true, right? It's 100% true, okay? Despite the fact that the Mueller report found no direct link between Trump and Russia, okay? Despite the fact that the Steele dossier, aka the Trump get peed on by Russian prostitutes document, was, proven to be false, which, the mainstream liberal media ran with, by the way.
Parts of the now infamous dossier on Trump have proven to be true.
I know the history of the dossier, but it hasn't been discredited. In fact, it's been the opposite. It's been corroborated. Much of the dossier has been corroborated.
This discredited dossier, which was paid for,
Your intel community has corroborated all of the details in there. The meeting.
Some of the substantive content of the dossier we were able to corroborate in our intelligence community assessment, which from other sources in which we had very high confidence.
We know that with the FISA application, the relevant parts of Christopher Steele's dossier were corroborated.
If the application included information from the dossier, it would only be after the FBI had, in fact, corroborated information through its own investigation.
We also know that as time goes on, more and more parts of the Steele dossier get corroborated. So when the president just refers to it as fake dossier, that is false.
I don't think that is an accurate characterization for the entirety of the dossier.
Investigators have corroborated part of the dossier. The dossier has been corroborated by the intelligence community. U.S. investigators have corroborated some of the allegations in that dossier. We do know that parts of it have been corroborated.
It's not been corroborated, but it hasn't been disproven either.
Is there anything in the dossier that has been disproven?
No.
But not one thing has been disproven. No major thing from the dossier has been conclusively disproven. To date, none of it has been disproven, and whole big parts of it are holding up.
The dossier holds up well. None of it has been disproven.
All of the allegations in it, I don't know that anything has been disproven. It's a fact that none of it, not one word has been disproven. In fact, a lot of it turned out to be right on the money. Former high-ranking intelligence officials have told us on the record that there is nothing in the Steele dossier that they know to have been disproven. Much of the dossier has been corroborated. Do you not accept that?
I don't agree with that, Alice.
This is our reporting, and this is what crime-fighting agencies have said that the.
Oh my God, the mainstream liberal media. Anyways, yeah. So the mainstream liberal media has still gone along with this fake Russia collusion narrative. Okay, while saying that anything that the Durham report finds is just absolutely false. We don't believe it. It's made up from the right wing media while also pushing their own made up conspiracies. It's quite fascinating stuff. Okay, they just don't want to let it go. But there's one Democrat that does have some integrity that has come out here and slammed Hillary Clinton after, these findings from the Durham report. And that Democrat is Tulsi Gabbard, as she accuses Hillary Clinton of being the real insurrectionist. Take a look.
What's being revealed here, Jesse, is the truth. Hillary Clinton and the power elite in this country manufactured this Russian collusion lie, actively undermining our democracy and stoking the fires, moving us into this new Cold War with Russia. The damage that they did to the American people, our democracy, and others around the world is immeasurable. It's impossible to measure, and it leads us to this point where we sit today, where we have people who were integral in making this happen, people like Jake Sullivan, now holding very influential positions of power in shaping our country's foreign policy. And what they're doing is telling the American people, they're telling us, saying, hey, you've got to be ready to go to war with Russia or other countries to, spread democracy, to protect democracy. And yet they're actively undermining our democracy here at home. This is their hypocrisy being exposed. And the American people deserve accountability. Hillary Clinton and her warmongers need to be held accountable. And Jake Sullivan, who's in a very influential position now in the Biden administration's White House, he needs to resign immediately for his role in this.
And what was Jake Sullivan's role in this fraud?
Well, you look at the history, it's been documented where he was one of the key voices in advocating for this Russian collusion lie. And a lot of the things that are being exposed now through this special counsel are pointing to his role alongside Hillary Clinton and others in propagating this lie to the American people.
Yeah, somebody needs to put Tulsi Gabbard in witness protection, okay? ASAP, okay? Somebody protect this woman at all costs, because she is the only sane voice in the Democrat Party, which, according to Democrats and the left-wing liberal media, that means she's a Republican, right? Which, hint, hint, wink, wink, Tulsi, just join the other side already, okay? Just become a Republican, okay? Just do that, right? Or you can stay on the Democrat side and continue to, be a pain in their arm or something like that. But what she's saying here is 100% right, and this is the same exact point that I've made 1,000 times about the Democrats. They are the real insurrectionists, right? Before any of this stuff that happened with January 6th, before Trump, before any of this stuff, these people were actively undermining democracy by telling us for 4 years straight that Trump was an illegitimate president, a Manchurian candidate that is a puppet of Putin, right? And they said this with no evidence whatsoever, okay? And now it looks like Clinton, Hillary, was behind it the whole time, which anybody with 2 brain cells already knew. The only thing Durham is doing right now is just verifying all the stuff that, again, anybody with any basic common sense know, right? The Mueller report already told you there was no direct link. We know that the Steele dossier is fake. We know it was funded by Hillary Clinton. John Ratcliffe released a letter that was requested by Lindsey Graham, okay, in reference to the FBI's handling of Crossfire Hurricane, okay, in which the former CIA agency director, John Brennan, under Obama, okay, there was handwritten notes in which he briefed Obama on the fact that Hillary allegedly approved of a proposal from one of her foreign policy advisors to vilify Donald Trump by stirring up a scandal claiming interference by Russian security services. Okay, now this was on July 26, 2016. Okay, that came out literally 2 years ago, almost. Okay, that information came out 2 years ago, right before the election. So all this stuff is coming out. Now you got the Durham report. People are still trying to act like, oh, I don't know, this might not be true. We don't know for sure if Hillary funded this, if Hillary's behind all this. And I'm like, bro, are you dumb or are you stupid, right? Are you just willingly ignorant? Because you have to be willingly ignorant at this point to see all this stuff come out, okay, that is pointing to what everybody knows, which is Hillary Clinton's behind this. And for you to sit here and try to act like she's not, it's ridiculous, okay? It really is. We all know that Hillary would stoop to any level whatsoever to do what she needs to do, right? She's the dirtiest politician in the game, okay? That's why she had servers in her basement, okay? Because she's dirty, okay? Now, again, the mainstream liberal media can sit here and act like, well, we don't know what Durham's report says. The right-wing media is misconstruing it. They're getting it wrong. You can act like that all you want to. But what we do know, what is abundantly clear, is that the whole Russia collusion propaganda, that Trump was some type of Manchurian candidate, some type of spy for Putin, we know that's false. And the mainstream liberal media basically promoted that narrative for 4 years straight in an attempt to try to make Trump seem like an illegitimate president, in an attempt to help the Democrats try to make a case for impeaching Trump, okay? So whether or not we know Hillary was behind 100% doesn't matter. What we do know is that it's not true. The basis of what is being saying is not true. And the mainstream liberal media, they will never, ever, ever own up to it. They were just wrong. They put out misinformation. No, it wasn't even misinformation. It was just flat out disinformation. They put out disinformation for 4 years straight. And that's why they don't want to touch this. They don't want to touch this with a 10-foot pole, right? Because if they acknowledge the Durham reports, acknowledging that and acknowledging the possibility that Hillary was behind it the whole time, basically destroys all the reporting that they did, telling their liberal audiences that Trump was some type of Manchurian candidate for Putin, right? It destroys that narrative 100%. That's why they don't want to touch it. That's why they don't want to talk about it, okay? But see, the reality is that all the politicians in Washington, all the insiders, everybody in the mainstream liberal media, they know that Hillary's behind it. They know that she's behind it, right? And they know that all the Russian collusion stuff is bunk. They know it 100%. So, like I said, man, at this point, I'm not surprised. I'm just happy that somebody like Tulsi Gabbard has the cojones to come out here and tell the truth that Hillary is the real insurrectionist. It is a damn shame that these Democrats try to virtue signal over here in America about saving democracy, protecting democracy, when the reality of the matter is that they don't give a damn about democracy. They don't care. They do not care. All they care about is power. That's all they care about. Because they legitimately were trying to get a duly elected president, Trump, out of office for 4 years straight. Okay? They never accepted the election as legitimate. They just didn't. Okay? So, like I said, man, this stuff is crazy. It's absolutely crazy. The hypocrisy with the Democrats never, ever, ever ends. It never does. So, let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.